Hello, everyone, and welcome to our lecture series on microeconomics. And I'm your instructor, Jamal. Hi there. Okay, just let you know that in our next lecture, we're going to have our midterm, and the exact date we're going to discuss in our Zoom meeting. Okay, so be prepared. In our next lecture, we're going to have our midterm. Okay, so we were discussing microeconomics, which is derived from a Greek word which is called micro, which means small. So, microeconomics is a branch of economics that studies the behavior of individuals and small impacting organizations in making decisions on the allocation of limited resources. So, recall our first lecture in which we talk about scarcity, which means we have limited resources and we have unlimited wants. Sorry. So, typically it applies to markets where goods and services are bought and sold. In simple sense, the microeconomics deal with small scale economics, right? In which small impacting organizations in decision making on the allocation of resources. Let's talk about the other one, which is macro, which looks at the economy as a whole, which means you're looking the economics on economy wide phenomena, in which we talk about inflation, unemployment, economic growth. The other definition of macroeconomics is that the branch of economics that examines the economic behavior of aggregate income, employment, output, and so on. The keyword is on national scale or economy wide scale. Whereas the microeconomics looks at the individual unit, which means household, the firms, and the industry, which means it sees and examines the trees, whereas the macroeconomics looks at the whole and the aggregate, where it sees and analyzes the forest. Right? You get the idea? The macro means you're talking about trees, where macro is you're talking about forests. The introduction is that we already know that demand is determined by buyers and supply is determined by suppliers. So, in this chapter, we will understand what decision lies behind supply curve. Why? Since this chapter name is cost of production. So, clearly, this do not relate to buyers and demand. Why? Because cost of production is related to either supply and suppliers, right? So this chapter is basically touches a part of economics, that is, we call that industrial economics, in which we study how firms decide about prices, quantities, and depend on the market condition they face. So let's explore this further. Okay, now the cost of production, in which we must understand what are the costs. So the firm's economic objective is to maximize the profit, right? So in order to understand this concept, maximization of profit, let's talk about your book example of Hungry Helen's Cookie Factory, right? So let's